into year 3, we're not going to get that 98% reimbursement from the federal government. So we're looking at a $4 million shortfall in the Nevada state budget in order to make up for that state exchange cost. There's been several mentions of people I've interviewed on the radio show on the Democrat side about raising taxes even more to make up for that $4 million shortfall. What could you do from, if elected, to get people like my mom that rely on that, Democrats telling them that, you know what, they're going to take it away because the Republicans aren't going to fund it because they're too afraid of tax increases? What would you say to those people that, in a sense, the Democrats are trying to scare off?
Well, it's a common tactic. They do like to say Republicans don't like tax increases. They also don't want to talk about any reform in our budget. If this is something that we're obligated to do, we have to pay for it. And you're either going to have to raise a tax to pay for it, or you're going to have to cut a service somewhere along the way or a department in order to pay for it. That's just the way it goes if we're obligated to continue it in the way we are. And we all saw that coming. Honestly, we knew it would only be 98% for 2 years. And in 5 years, we have to pay that much more of it. We have to plan for it.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but in Clark County, there's been a spike in crime. And we're also a sanctuary county, which means we don't turn over felons to, or people charged with felonies. We don't turn them over to ICE. You see any connection there? And as an assembly, if you're elected to the assembly, would you do anything about that? And how would you fight crime?
Well, it's a twofold question. One is, I do not believe in sanctuary cities. I think we need to stop that immediately. And if someone is here, undocumented, then they do need to be handled in that sense. And crime is definitely on a spike. And it's unfortunate that sometimes we're still hearing the police saying they need more money in order to fight crime, and they stop responding to certain calls. And we actually need to get them to do what we need them to do. They do have budgets, they do have funding, and they do need to take care of our citizens. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Amy. How are you today?
Good, thank you.
Thank you for being here. My name's Robert Faust. Would like to ask you where you're at. Go ahead.
No, she was just setting it.
I would like to ask you where you're at on women's rights to abortion, and would you defund Planned Parenthood if you could?
The simple answer is yes. I don't believe the federal government should be giving any entity private money, so I would be in defunding. They would absolutely survive. They're a well-known marketing machine. They get plenty of money, and people pay for their services. I'm sorry, the second part of that question, I went on defunding.
Abortion.
Oh, whether I support it or not. There are times when it's necessary. I am overall a pro-life person. I think, unless there truly is a health risk or there's a rape, there's always going to be an exception. But overall, I don't believe in abortion.
Len Connell, and thanks for being our sole attendee for your assembly district today. My question is, what would you do to bring in new business and industry into the state without doing like the governor did, pay for his dates and basically lose money on bringing in 2 electric car companies?
We have so much to offer in Nevada. I don't believe we need to give away taxes or give abatements or incentives to get companies to come here. When you look around our states around us in California, we have such a pro-business environment here that we just need to start advertising and talking and recruiting people to come here. We have the land, we have the buildings, we have the environment, we have the people. I think we're ready for it. We just need to say, come here and we will help you. We will help you not with incentives, but we have everything else you need to survive and thrive in business here.
Hi, Amy Bronque. My question is, you run against your opponent again last primary, right, in 2014.
Correct.
And of course, he ended up winning the general election, and a few months later, we feel betrayed it because we thought that, those tax increases not going to happen. What would you do different this election cycle so you can be the one in the general election?
Very easily, last campaign, it got a bit negative. I mean, on both sides. There were items made up about me. We were hitting with hit pieces against him. We need to keep it about the issues. And fortunately for me, he has a voting history that didn't speak to my Republican conservative heart at all. He voted for 30 of 32 new taxes, and that's the only thing I have to go on this time. I mean, really, his voting record is the only reason why I ran again. He represented me also, and he did not represent me anywhere near the way I needed to be represented. So I decided to take him on again.
Jason Stoffel, attorney. Commerce tax, good idea or bad idea?
Bad idea. I definitely am helping to repeal this. I have take out the forms. I am a notary for a lot of them. We need to repeal this. And my fear is now that it's in there, the next session we're going to see that threshold of $4 million get lowered down to, $2 million, $1 million. I don't think it matters. There's a whole new source of revenue there. And this tax speaks to my entrepreneurial heart the most. This kills ambition. It doesn't take a lot for a small business to get to $4 million to hit that threshold. And I just think it's an ambition killer, and it's a tax that was sold as one to support the children and made everyone feel guilty about it. But unfortunately, this tax went to the general fund. There was nowhere in the law that said it must go to education. So I'm all about repealing it. I don't think we need it, and I hope that when the Supreme Court talks about whether their repeal can go forward next month, I hope they let it. I hope they let them go gather signatures and get it on the ballot.
Hi, Mike Edwards, U.S. Marine, disabled vet from Desert Storm, and president of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club here in Las Vegas. You seem very knowledgeable about some of the stuff that I haven't brought up before because I wanted to check on that. We have a lot of hazardous road conditions here in Las Vegas. Potholes, broken pavement, trenched pavement, etc. It affects motorcycle riders much more than our cars. Lots of roads haven't been serviced in years. The roads can cause crashes, grabbing tires, etc. Road during dusk, even more dangerous. And there's multiple lawsuits I researched against municipalities for these types of accidents can cost millions. A lot of their responses, we didn't know about them. Or they defer to Las Vegas paving, and they say, well, we didn't know, we can't fix it. Is there a general fund to resurface our broken roads? How is the priority set? And it's been brought up many times in the meetings that I have. Why not have a website where people can write in or take pictures or say, hey, this road is here, this road is here, needs to be fixed, or we could actually make it, the police, while they're driving around or sitting around, a lot of times they could actually contribute to this, and at least then they can't say, well, we didn't know about it, we didn't have anything to do with it, it's not our fault.
I completely understand this. As a Harley rider, I have a Softail Deluxe. I completely know this issue because as we're riding around, if you're in four wheels and you hit a pothole, you're overall going to be okay. If you're on two wheels and you hit a pothole, you're down, and it's going to be painful. And over the years, my husband and I, as we're out, we'll see things that are bad, and we'll take a picture, and we'll send them in to NDOT. And we're like, you have a problem here. Nobody cares. I've never found the process that you can send it in and have it get fixed. And it's really frustrating because you hear about motorcycle riders all the time going down. And when we get fatalities and we get people that will no longer ride again, and I don't believe we have a process to get these fixed. They do have money to fix. This is part of our general fund. One of the main things that we're supposed to take care of is our roads. That's what the government was created for, with these common elements. And I think we need to fix that. There needs to be a place where as citizens we can just upload a photo and say, hey, you've got a problem here, or else no one cares. But if we have enough people put in on the same pothole, well, let's get it fixed. And when we send that picture in, they've got to tell us how long. Is it going to take 5 days, 20 days? Do we just not have any money and we're never going to fix it? We need to know what's going on there. And I don't think there's a process right now. I would try. I've definitely tried.
Do you have a solution?
No, I think actually having a website with a portal where you can upload photos, because we're all out there every single day, and the people that are in charge of the budgets or the people fixing the roads, they're not on the roads every day like all of us are. They need to give us a spot where we can say, here's a problem, and then they can just go out and fix it.
Miami is something more. Thank you for showing up today. Where do you
fall on the ESAs, the Education Savings Accounts, and vouchers. What is your stand on that?
Oh, I really like them. I think parents should have a choice in where their kids go to school and how they're educated. And the $5,100 or approximately that they were going to pull out was great. It's a great start. And I was talking to a few of my clients that didn't know about it when they come in and make like their HOA payments. They were so excited because across the lines, every economic diverse couples in this, or parents in the state, they were using this. They were pulling their kids and going to the monasteries, all the different schools they could. They were excited. And it still left more money in the Clark County School District because each child, I believe, is allotted about $11,000, and they were pulling out $5,100 for the year to give to the parents. My only thing that I really didn't care for was the 100 days that your child had to be in public school. I understand it so they could get federal money. I get the reasons. I just wish it didn't have to be there.
Hi, Amy. I'm Scott LaFado with Conservatives for Energy Freedom. I had to step out of the room for a moment, so if you've already been asked this question, tell me. We've got another one, but what's your position on legalizing recreational marijuana?
Well, personally, I wouldn't be a consumer of it, but I don't believe government needs to regulate every single thing we do. So, with that, I would support it. But we do need to have a way to, treat it like alcohol, if you will. So, if you're driving under the influence, there just needs to be a way or a limit that you can't be such a user that you're going to hurt other people. But I don't think government should be involved.
Tim Pitara, U.S. Army political activist. So I'm going to give you a hypothetical because I see a lot of states versus federal kind of back and forth. It's their ball, it's their ball, what have you. Let's say a congressman comes to you and says, hey, how do I help state of Nevada? I want to work with state of Nevada, the assembly. What's an issue we can work on to get that cooperation from federal and state legislation? What's the one issue you think you could really help a potential congressman to get that divide kind of closed?
Wow, we really don't talk between federal and state at all. I would like to think they would help us out with land. That would be the biggest communication, because so many people want our lands back in Nevada, and we do need our federal congressman's help on that.
So we do land rights.
Definitely land rights, they can help us out a lot.
Thank you.
Over the last, excuse me, my name's Patrick Cassell. The last couple of years, the perception of law enforcement is very, very negative. Especially, I'm a youth coach right now. And it's interesting because recently I heard one of my players see a police officer give somebody a ticket and immediately thought the police officer was bad. The negative. If you were in a position, what would you do to change that perception and get the youth to look at police officers with the same respect that I did as a youth? Or somebody over 40.
Sure, no, I take that. A couple of weeks ago, I actually got pulled over for a speeding ticket. And he got me out. I was speeding. I wasn't going to, try and get my way out of it. But I literally was quiet. And here I'm a 45-year-old woman, and I'm like, I better be quiet. I don't want to get in trouble. I've never had that thought before. So if I'm having it now, where as a kid, I never had that, the police were our friends, we need to get the police back out into our communities, back into the schools, to do community outreach. We need to get these kids to understand they're people too. But to go with that, the cops that do something wrong, and I know it's a small percentage like every industry, they need to be punished. And so if the kids can see, well, hey, someone did something wrong, they got in trouble, it's not everybody. So they have to understand anything bad that happens. It's just a small percentage. And we need these kids to meet the cops and understand they're doing a job. And they're overall doing a great service for our community.
Hi, Amy. Fred Conquest, Citizens for a Better America. Healthcare in Nevada is sort of abysmal, and the exchange that they have is basically raising rates and getting insurers to bail out. What problem? It's a big problem. What's your solution, or what would you be in favor of doing if you're elected?
Well, there's so many things in there I can answer on. I mean, we have to change this. As a small business owner, a few years ago, 2 years ago specifically, we never were big enough to have a group policy. So I would have my employees go out on the open market, buy insurance, and I would write a check for their insurance. Under the Obamacare and the state exchange rules, I can no longer do that. So it's very strange that I'm hiring people and I'm paying them $50,000 plus a year, and they have to go on the state exchange to get insurance. So we need to let more options happen. We need to cross state lines. We need to get what's best for our employees, and we need to get the premiums down. The premiums, from our firsthand experience, have gone up from roughly $200 a month for an individual to over $600 a month for an individual. The price that they went up so fast, there's no way that people can even afford them. And then if they can afford the premiums, they can't afford the deductibles. This Obamacare has radically changed how we view healthcare in the last 2 years. Honestly, we need to unwind it, and we need to start over, because we have failed miserably on giving people quality healthcare.
Any other questions from the? Yes.
Hi, how are you again? Mike Edwards. Quick question. The VA is a federal institution. We have lots of problems with it here in Las Vegas. Would you be for or against having a local VA representative maybe paid for by the city to help our local constituents or our local veterans here that are having problems, that are having very long wait times, that are, I work a lot with the homeless vets and many veteran situations, they have problems. We have veterans suicide hotlines where people are being put on hold. A paid city employee that is actually a direct contact to some of our local vets, just to get them some help, just to help them, it's a voice to them, because, my wife, thank God, helps with all of the stuff I have to do, and I couldn't do half the paperwork that I have to do because I don't have time. I have a job. I get called in for an appointment. I take the day off work. I get in. They cancel my appointment. So I just lost $300 to go in, something I have to go, even though I have a civilian doctor. I'm mandated to go certain times a year for my disability. Having someone here that's just going to listen, that's going to help, that can actually do some of the legwork for them, have a connection to the VA itself.
I would support that. What we do to our vets, honestly, is just horrible. But I can speak from firsthand experience. I'm a member of American Legion Post 40 out in Henderson, the auxiliary.
Post 8?
Well, that's the wrong.
We're all the same.
And I know, and Post 8 has it too. We have on site, we got a guy who handles the VA. So if we have a vet come through the door at no charge at all, and our guy's a volunteer, he'll help you get through that system. And these guys are really great. So the vets have to understand also there are so many entities out there at VFW, American Legions, I think we have 5 or 6 of them here. There are people that will help today without making a new department of it. People just have to get the word out that they can help you with the VA, because it's horrible. I am so thankful every day that I'm married to someone who's retired military, that I don't have to go through that VA system, and neither does he, because we get a whole different level of care. And I don't understand why the VA is not getting the same care that we're getting. It's the same facility. It's the same hospitals. Why are we treating each part of it different when at the end of the day, you guys did the service. You did everything we wanted you to do, and yet we're treating you differently. I don't understand that. And I think we've got to do something to improve it.
Can I do a follow-up? I'd like to do a follow-up on that issue. The fact that the VA, the federal government, has failed to take care of our veterans, obviously, is costing us as taxpayers for taking care of homeless, jails, prosecutors, health care that's resulting from their failure with UMC. It's costing our state and the states across this country a lot of money. Would you sign off on a plan for our Attorney General to sue the federal government for reimbursement of the money that's costing our state failing to take care of our veterans?
Yeah, but we need to take it a step further. We need to sue them to make them do what they're obligated to do to our vets. So it's twofold. It's about money, but it's also about the care. I would support that, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Hearing none. At this time, we have 30 seconds for a closing statement.
Great. Thank you so much. It's great to be here today. I'm really saddened that my opponents didn't come, because both of the Democrat and the Republican running are incumbents, and I think you guys would have been able to ask them some great questions. But I will always be here and give opinions and tell you what I think, what I would want to do. And I do believe we need to go back to a conservative. Our pendulum swung so far. We need to come back, and we need to be about the people in Nevada. I know we can do it, and there's a lot of great people out there running. And I'm Amy Groves. Feel free to visit me at my website at amygroves.org. Thank you very much.
Amy Groves, State Assembly District 29. Thank you very much for coming in.
And where are all the ladies on the panel? Come on, guys. This is a very lopsided room. Oh, you're one? Okay. Good.
Oh, well, wait. Karen is not a lady. See, I've been telling
She
her
didn't
that.
ask a question.
They turned us down. Not that they didn't get
Because I knew what you knew. I knew you knew what you were doing, so I didn't
All
ask
right.
They all heard I was. We have Rowena right here.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
No, it's off. I'm on pause right now. That was the live stream. You got one right there. Yeah, it is. You got it.
That's really intense. People don't realize it's like police.
Yeah,
Like a police interrogation.
She's a hot, something about she's not out. How you feeling over there, Judge? Look like Manny's the only one. That's a good thing. It's grilled. It's grilled of artists. I've been in summer once or twice. Out here, give Manny all the media coverage. Let's get a nice close up on Manny. All right, Judge, you ready to rock and roll? Okay. What's your name? Adam Trump here. Yeah. All right, good. Oh, man, you're not by yourself now.
Nobody else showed for this one?
Is that David over there?
Yes.
Okay. You got David. Man, you almost have the camera to himself. Almost. Now we gotta zoom out of you, man.
They can't. I don't know if they would wait for me to go. So about 8 o'clock, 7:30 or something. There, knock on the door. I see people out there. And outside, they identify themselves. They come in, they speak.
So what, 3 ain't bad. Sounds like all time.
And I saw them come back on the foot of the stairs. And I was like, and then you come back from the devil. And so I stayed for a little bit.
You don't look like a Martin.
Got lost on the spiritual protection.
That'd be funny if you were his opponent.
I was just kind of shocked because I have nothing. They're not going to get anything on me but my cash.
All right, we have the panel members sit back down. This is for State Assembly, District 34. We have Manny Garcia and David LeBay.
Yep.
And I guess we're missing Marty Hagan. All right. We'd ask Mr. Garcia, I'm going to ask you an opening statement. Mr. LeBay will also give an opening statement. You have 30 seconds. I want to remind the panel members, questions should be 30 seconds. And you'll have a minute to answer those, and we'll hold you that time. All right. Thank you very, very much. Mr. Garcia, you may begin. 30 seconds.
Manny Garcia, candidate for Assembly District 34. I'm a veteran. I work as an electrician. I'm a Latino, of course, and I think my demographic, my background best fits the demographic of my district. My district is mostly working people. We've struggled over the last 6 years. I think mostly working people understand how difficult it's been to keep employment, keep our homes with the recession and ongoings. And I talk to my constituents. They tell me about their struggles to keep their homes and their families. And that's why I'm running for District 34, because I think I understand and I can bring that perspective to Carson City.
Thank you. Mr. LeBay.
My name is David LeBay. I was born and raised in Las Vegas. I grew up here, went to school here. I received my legal education here. The fact of the matter is, growing up, my friends, my family, we don't like the change we've seen in this city. We don't like the change we've seen in this state. I'm running because I'm the only candidate with any history of service and public service. I'm a state commissioner for the Juvenile Justice Commission. I represent the University of Nevada, Las Vegas as a presidential ambassador, and I'm the only candidate in my race with any relevant legal experience. Our laws need to be written by people who know how the laws work in the real world, how they're going to actually function, and that's why I'm running, because representation means knowing what constituents need, how their laws are going to affect them, and what we can do to actually help them and affect positive change.
Thank you very much. We'll start with Mr. Conquest.
Okay, Fred Conquest, Executive Director, Citizens for a Better America. Where do you stand on the fact that the commerce tax was essentially ramrodded through to supposedly help schools, and the schools got none of the money? Are you for or against it, and would you help repeal it?
So, Mr. Garcia, you can give that 1 minute to answer.
If the money gets earmarked where it's supposed to go, and the school district has had a problem with that they're given money, but the money is not allocated to specific expenses, and so it's
LeVay?
I'm opposed to any unnecessary tax increases. And what we've seen is education in Nevada is pretty much hovering towards dead last, no matter how much money we throw towards it. So I would work towards repealing the commerce tax because the fact of the matter is throwing more money at a problem that's yet to be solved by throwing money at it is clearly not an effective solution. I think money needs to be spent more intelligently. I think we need to use the funds we've already had and use those in a more productive manner rather than just throwing more money at the problem, more money at the problem, more money at the problem, and hoping it's going to help. So, I mean, I've based my campaign on the fact that I would oppose and work towards repealing any unnecessary tax increases, any new taxes. So, yes, I'm opposed to that tax and I would work towards repealing it. We don't need to be throwing more money at a problem when clearly that has not helped.
My name is Pat Cassell. I have a question for each candidate, two different questions. Specifically, Mr. Lay. Clark County has one of the highest rates of youth homelessness in America. How would you attack that? How would you help our homeless youth?
Well, I think what we need to do is we need to get the schools more involved in actually working with students and trying to get the schools to function towards helping students achieve actual, realistic, achievable goals. The problem is one size fits all with education isn't really working, and we have this pie-in-the-sky ideal that everyone's going to go off to college, everyone can be a doctor, everyone can be a lawyer. And you know what? It's a great way to think. It's not a reality. A lot of people do not have those desires, and what the schools are failing to do is they're failing to actually reach out to students and help work with them on actually achieving an achievable goal, something that they actually want to go with. So I think that that's something that needs to be done is the schools need to be focused more on actually getting students into the kind of career paths they want to go into, and that would prevent a lot of this against this sense of hopelessness. When a student can't possibly pass a math proficiency exam, we tell them that your only future is to be a doctor, or be a lawyer, or be a business person. It's not going to work. It leads to depression. It leads to them feeling that they're a failure in life and that there's nothing they can actually do to contribute to society. We need to start helping students contribute to society by focusing on their individual strengths and pushing them into fields where they can actually thrive and succeed. That, I think, would be an effective way to start curbing youth homelessness.
Mr. Garcia, you said you're an electrician by trade?
Correct.
You know, in Clark County, we have a tremendous amount of illegals working for bigger companies. Being Latino, as yourself, how do you feel we should handle that, and what would be your approach?
It's a good question. I was a contractor in California, and it was a very difficult thing to work against. The reason we have people working illegally is because there's people that hire them. And it's illegal to be an undocumented worker. It's not illegal to hire an undocumented worker. So we need to go after the employers who hire these workers. It creates an unfair playing field for the employers who are trying to do it right. It brings down the standard for everybody, and it makes it more difficult for people who are playing by the rules to actually move ahead and achieve something. So that would be the answer. We need to go after the employers who hire the undocumented workers, make sure they're held accountable. You're talking about workers who don't have the skills to do the work, especially in electrical work. If you don't have the skill set, you burn more houses than you build. And so it's a serious. I was really surprised that in Nevada there's no laws against hiring an undocumented worker. Thank you.
Mr. Garcia, so first of all, thank you for your service. Welcome home. I appreciate you showing up today, and so Mr. LeVay. So my question is a political ideological one. You being a veteran like myself, how can you stand with a party who would rather vote to give illegals more benefits versus cutting veterans' benefits? How do you contemplate that, being a Democrat?
Nobody receives benefits in this country unless they have documentation, so the idea that illegals are receiving benefits is a farce. There are veterans who are receiving benefits. I've always received my benefits. If you don't have a social security card, if you don't have any documentation, I don't see how people can receive benefits. My party does not stand for giving benefits to undocumented workers in lieu of giving benefits to veterans. My party has voted toward veteran benefits. I think most recently it was the Republicans who did kill the veteran health care bills, more because of separation. And so I don't believe that that's a stance of the Democratic Party to vote against veterans.
Just to clarify, would you consider a driver's license a benefit or not?
I would rather have undocumented people that have a driver's license and be held accountable. Coming from California, you had the situation where you would have an accident with an undocumented person, and the next day they would be somebody else. So to have some kind of paperwork where
Scott LaFata with Conservatives for Energy Freedom. I assume that both of you are familiar with the Bring Back Solar movement, and so I'd like to ask both of your opinions of bringing back solar to Nevada. David, why don't you comment first and we'll pass it on to Manny afterwards.
From what I know about the solar program, there is currently a debate with whether or not it's actually going to cause increases in electricity rates because Nevada Power is against that, because it would be, I believe, giving a tax credit to individuals who are willing to install solar power on their homes. I think it's an effective measure towards protecting the environment. However, I'm hesitant to fully get behind a program like that because from what I understand about it, it would cause rate increases because there's a vested interest for natural gas and other providers to try to raise rates to compensate for loss of revenue because of those tax credits given for people who are doing that. I'm all for protecting the environment, but not at a cost to the taxpayers. I'm not for stifling industry. I'm not for causing Nevadans to have to pay more for unnecessary programs. It's great to have great ideas. It doesn't really necessarily work if we're causing them to feel the pain because of it.
All right, thank you, David. Manny?
The way the system's supposed to work currently, or in the past through net metering, was a one-for-one credit. Now, the power companies argue that during the day while we're producing electricity in our rooftop units, is selling on the market at 3 cents a kilowatt, which is what they're paying the energy producers in a regular power company. So that would be fair to the respect. If that's the going rate of energy produced, 3 cents a kilowatt during the day, then that's what that should be sold for. In the evening when we come home, we're no longer power producers, we're power consumers. And at that point, the electricity is being sold for 16 cents a kilowatt, and that's the going rate. The power company argues that we are using the transmission lines to send and receive the power that we generate and the power that we consume. So all of that needs to be covered under the energy produced. Now what happens though is the power company on one hand, they treat me like an energy producer. They're going to pay me 3 cents a kilowatt for the energy I produce. If I overproduce the energy due to net metering, they don't send me my 3 cents. Instead, they give me a credit. If the credit goes unused, the power company keeps my electricity. So there has to be an equitable solution to this. It's easy to cover the offset of the cost. It's true that we have to pay for the transmission lines and we have to pay for the differential and the usage.
5 seconds.
When the system is put together, if it can be compensated through panels, it just needs to work fairly for the consumer. It can't be one way for the power company, I'm a residential, and one way for the power company, and now I'm a consumer.
Somebody more here. So for both of you, and just bear with me on this if you will, please. One, do you have children? And two, are you comfortable with someone of the opposite sex going into the same bathroom with your child and standing right next to them, sitting or whatnot? Where do you stand on that?
I have transgender friends. You would never know that they were transgender unless they told you. The women act like women and the men act like men, and you wouldn't know the difference. I think sending a hot blonde into the men's bathroom would be a bad idea. And so people behave accountable to what they see as their gender, and I don't have a problem with people using the bathroom that they identify.
And just to kind of piggyback on that, and I'm not just picking on any person here, but so with the way that the law is written, I could say that I identify today as Sally Sue, and I can go in, stand and be right next to Karen if I choose to, and then tomorrow I can be John Moore again, and you're comfortable with that?
You would have to change your attire, but I suppose that would be that would be a very small percentage. But for the most part, the friends that I have a friend that you would never know she had an operation, and you meet her and she's a woman, and I don't have a problem with her using the women's bathroom at all.
The problem with this is, again, I understand for people who are transgender, it's a hard lifestyle to live. It really is. The fact of the matter is we're not talking about people who are fully living as the opposite gender. I actually just wrote a paper about this in law school, and the fact of the matter is that because we are pushing so hard to not be able to even ask someone, not to be able to inquire, not to be able to offer any kind of skepticism, what's going to stop a bunch of teenage boys, a bunch of horny football players going into the girls' locker room because they want to ogle at women? There's nothing to stop that. We call them out for it. We can say, hey, you know what? You don't really identify as transgender. Well, how dare you? How dare you accuse me of lying about my identity? That's just how I choose to express myself. You know, the fact of the matter is it's great to think, oh, this is going to help everybody, this is going to be perfect for everybody. It doesn't work like that in the real world. The fact of the matter is these bathroom bills are giving predators an opportunity to prey on members of the opposite sex. If all you can do is say, I can identify however the hell I want today. I can identify as I can sit up here today and I can identify as a black man. I can sit up here and identify as a woman. It doesn't matter. If we could change our identity at a will, then there's zero function for identity in the real world. You said it yourself. You could be John Moore today, you could be Sally Southers tomorrow. It doesn't matter. When we have no tie to reality, there's no workable laws around that. I respect transgender people who live as the opposite sex, but the fact of the matter is, by opening the door to anybody being able to say, I can do whatever the hell I want to be today, it's an unworkable system, it's highly insulting, and it opens up our children to predators.
Question?
Good afternoon. Mike Edwards, United States Marine disabled vet from Desert Storm, and I'm the president of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club here in Las Vegas, and an avid biker and political rights activist. Lately, there's been lots of talk, especially in the military, about undocumented illegal aliens, whatever they're called nowadays. I keep telling people, keep telling me I say it wrong. That join the military maybe under false pretenses, but serve honorably 5, 10, 15 years. When they get out, they're kicked out of this country. I was always under the impression that you got citizenship by serving in the military. I've been told it's a temporary citizenship now. What are your thoughts towards automatic American citizen for serving, getting dishonorable discharge in our military, and even using that as an incentive for undocumented immigrants, as you will, that come into this country? By coming in now, we're integrating them into our society. They're learning English. Their families are learning English. They're learning the way we are. They're living on base. They're living with other Americans. Everyone I served with when I was in was God-fearing, American-loving, and they're the best people I ever served with.
Before we continue, you said dishonorable discharge.
No, honorable discharge, sir, yes. Yes. With nothing more than an honorable discharge.
We have Americans who aren't willing to serve. And if somebody wants to come from another country and serve in our military, fight for this country, and fight honorably, and do everything that's asked of them, and earn that right, then I think that they earn their citizenship. I know it's not that way, but I believe that should be one way for people to gain citizenship in this country.
Mr. LeVay?
I wholly agree with that. The fact of the matter is, I think there's really no higher calling than serving in the military. You're putting your life, you're putting your family, you're putting everything that you hold dear on the line to represent the ideals of America. You serve this country honorably. You put your life on the line. You're defending American ideals. Absolutely. If you go and you serve honorably and you show that you can go above and beyond your service to your country, you absolutely deserve to be respected by your country and allowed to become a full citizen. Absolutely.
Next question?
Jason Starbo, attorney. This one for Mr. Garcia. Mr. Garcia, what volunteer work have you done with Habitat for Humanity and graffiti cleanup?
Graffiti cleanup in my neighborhood and at my religious center. When I see it, I clean it up. Habitat for Humanity, I've helped with their the convention center when they bring in the materials. They'll have a Habitat Home Depot will do a convention, and then instead of taking the stuff, what they do is they donate to Habitat for Humanity. We go down there, we break it all down in boxes for them, so that Habitat for Humanity then takes that material and uses it for their construction projects.
Good afternoon, my name is Ron Q, and this question is for Mr. Garcia. Mr. Garcia, I saw your website, and you have a picture with Harry Reid. Do you consider yourself as establishment candidate?
I was not endorsed by the Assembly Democratic Caucus. I am not an establishment candidate. I was an independent voter up until 5 years ago, but you can't run for office unless you belong to a party. There's a lot of flaws with the Democratic Party, but it's the party I feel like I'm best associated with, so I joined them. But my intention is to go in there and drive the Democratic Party crazy and bring my personal problems as a working person and what we go through to earn a living and take care of our families are not being addressed by either party, even though the Democratic Party says that they are the party of working people. So it is my intention to go there and drive them nuts.
Thank you.
Next question?
Thank you so much for both of you to come today and be with us, and I'd like to direct the question to both of you. What would you do to enact some compensation reform for public employees, state, county, local, that are creating windfall million-dollar bonuses by manipulating their accumulated sick leave, longevity pay, etc., in a time when most people in the private sector are paying record-level taxes and going through one of the worst recessions in the history of the country.
Let's start with Mr. LeBay again.
The issue with public employees, retirement system, and other kinds of pension plans, the fact of the matter is that we're allowing workers, like you said, to essentially manipulate the system where I believe the average of the 3 highest paid months are their lifelong compensation afterwards. With an unfunded liability, which I believe is close to $11 billion, we're allowing people who have worked in high-end positions, who manipulated that to receive the high compensation. We're basically strangling out lower-paid individuals who aren't able to receive any kind of benefits, despite the fact that they've offered similar, if not greater, service. We need to completely change the system. It's as much as we like to talk about PERS and saving PERS and PERS reform, the fact of the matter is it's broken. It's a broken system that absolutely does need to be changed. And while I respect the fact that people who have vested in PERS need to absolutely receive the benefits that they've worked towards, that they were promised when they initially signed in, I think we need to change that so that people coming into public service from here on out are not going to be enrolled in that system. We need to get a better system that does not allow such manipulation. It doesn't allow such gross overcompensation for people in their retirement.
Mr. Garcia?
In a collective bargaining agreement, wages are negotiated, sick days are included into those wages. In my personal collective bargaining agreement, we do not have sick days because we don't want to have this type of controversy. In a public employee negotiates the wage and negotiates so many sick days at the wage at that time. If that employee does not take those sick days when he's at a lesser scale, those sick days get paid out at the end of his term when he's at the higher scale. So we are, as a taxpayer, paying 2 to 3 times as much for those sick days because they didn't use those sick days when they were actually at the lower wage. So it's for our advantage for him to take those sick days as part of their pay. How the exact contracts are constructed, we can look at that as legislatures when we negotiate the collective bargaining agreement. But it's something that's negotiated as part of their compensation, and it's in our best interest that they use it earlier in their careers than later.
Next question.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. My name is Robert Faust. I would like to ask you both, and we'll start with David. Where are you on carrying on campus, and who should carry?
I think the Second Amendment is a fundamental right. It's one of the few enumerated rights we have in the Constitution. A right is not qualified. We are, as American citizens, we have the right to carry a firearm, and that includes on campus. The fact of the matter is that people dread to walk to their car at night. We have UNLV. I've been at UNLV for 7 years. It's in a dangerous neighborhood. There are constantly criminals, gangbangers coming onto campus. And the fact of the matter is, for someone like me, even I feel scared. How does a woman feel? My wife went to UNLV. She was a law student there. She went to undergrad there. The fact of the matter is, she's helpless if someone attacks her. We have this constitutional right to carry firearms. And the fact of the matter is, just because we declare a campus a gun-free zone, that doesn't stop someone from coming on campus with a gun or a knife to rob someone, to hurt someone, to rape someone, to kill them. It doesn't make a difference. We have this right to carry firearms that should extend to our campuses. We're targets as students. People know, and especially in a bad neighborhood like UNLV, people know that we have resources. We have money. We're carrying our laptops. We're carrying our smartphones. We are targets. We have targets painted on our backs. We have no way of defending ourselves. Campus carry should absolutely be passed, and I would actively fight for that.
I believe that every law-abiding citizen has the right to carry a firearm wherever they feel it's justified.
Next question.
Rob Lauer. Real quick, just sign up. What party are you affiliated with, if any?
I'm a Republican.
Okay. So this is up your alley, I think. But it's for both of you. About crime here in Las Vegas is spiked. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but if a legal alien is arrested by Metro for a violent felony, if they can post bail, they're released, and they're not turned over to ICE. Do you feel this is contributing to the crime issue here, the spike in crime? If not, what do you think is contributing, and how would you address the spike in crime here related to that?
Well, it's hard to answer this all in a minute. There's 3 main points with that. And yes, the fact that we basically hold ourselves up as a sanctuary city is a big problem. The fact of the matter is, the illegal aliens who are arrested for violent crime are released right back into society. They've already shown that they're not going to abide by our laws. They came here illegally. They don't care what our laws are. And the moment they're released back, they go right back to what they go right back to what they were doing. I was working over at the Clark County District Attorney's Office. I've sat in Judge DeSantis' courtroom. I've sat in Judge Marshall's courtroom. And the fact of the matter is people are getting out on bail. They're getting out on their own recognizance release. They're out for maybe a day or two, and they're out committing another felony. These people have dozens of cases in the pipeline, so there's zero respect for the system. I would actually be pushing for criminal justice reform that would more meaningfully punish offenders, try to reduce the overcrowding so we can actually keep our violent offenders in jail where they belong instead of releasing them out just because we don't have the resources to house them. We need to focus on keeping violent offenders in prison. We need to focus on keeping them incarcerated, stop this OR release for violent crimes, and keep them in a place where they're not going to be a threat to society. We're not doing that right now because our current statutes, as well written as they can be, need to be changed to reflect the fact that violent crime is not being properly punished and that we don't have the resources to house them at that level. So yes, though there are multiple factors that go into that. I have the experience actually having prosecuted these cases. So I would be definitely contributing towards that. But yes, there's a lot that needs to be done. I regret that I can't answer it all in 1 minute, but I do recognize the problem, and I have a very detailed plan on how to actually correct that.
I believe that the rise in crime lately has a lot to do with the lack of opportunities and the lack of hope in societies or educational systems. We're not giving our citizens the tools to go out and get good jobs, the tools to go out and succeed. We need to address that. We're throwing all the money into the prison systems. We spend 3 times on the prison system what we spend on the educational system. We go back retroactively and educate prisoners in prison that didn't get educated when they were going to school. So we need to readdress our fundamental priorities as society. We need to go in and look at the educational system and how we can help people have the tools to succeed, and that will reduce people's need to go out and steal. You can make more money working at McDonald's than you can stealing copper out of streetlights.
I'm sorry, can you just answer the question about whether you believe the people arrested, illegal immigrants arrested for felonies by Metro should be turned over to ICE? That's the fundamental question, sir.
An illegal alien who is arrested and convicted of a felony by
No,
Metro.
not convicted, just arrested for a felony.
We have to convict people are innocent until proven guilty. If they're convicted of a felony, yes, they should get a fair trial. We all have that right.
Next question.
Sure. Well, good afternoon. Thank you both for attending. Really appreciate it. This question can be answered by both, but I'm going to start with Mr. LeBay. With your legal background, with being an attorney.
I want to clarify, I'm not an attorney, I'm a law student. Not until next week.
Oh, okay. All right. All right, fair enough. Some of the legislation and statutes that are written are very, very complicated for the average citizen to interpret or to even understand. If you were elected, would you do something to create legislation to where legislative language needed to be written more clearly as though the average person could understand that legislation?
I do believe that coming in with legal experience, especially as a law student going into this field, we are taught to think differently. We actually see the way the laws work in the real world. So the problem is while it's not admirable we have a citizen legislature, it's hard for someone who is a layperson who doesn't have that legal background to understand how these laws are going to function in the real world. So yes, I think there needs to be more legal input on how we write our statutes because, again, as legal professionals, we know how these laws actually do work. We understand how they function. Because it sounds good to just have like common sense law, this is how it's going to work, and we're going to have a great statute that's going to address all these issues, and we think this makes perfect sense. Well, it's great to think that, but the fact of the matter is that there are areas of law that are highly complex, and you're not going to get clear writing unless you have someone who has that background and knowing how to actually do statutory interpretation, knows how these cases do come out the pipeline when they're litigated. So yes, I think there needs to be that kind of legal input that would enable these laws to be written more clearly because there's this knowledge of how they're actually going to function in the real world. And yes, I do know a bit about statutory interpretation, and I would be able to contribute contributing towards clarifying our laws and making them actually work because I have that legal background and I actually know how they're going to end up on the pipeline when they get to a courtroom. And it's inevitable that these laws do go to court.
Okay, and Mark, or Manny, I'm sorry.
Laws currently are purposely written in a manner that lay people don't understand them. I believe that there should be more transparency in legislation, and it should be written so that anybody can pick it up and understand what that legislation means. Yes, I would support that bill.
All right. Yes.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here today. My name is Karen Steelman. I'm the Auxiliary Director with Veterans in Politics. And Mr. Garcia, I'd like to go back to a question you were asked early on about undocumented workers. They're illegal aliens. And you mentioned that you were in favor of giving them driver's license so that they can be held accountable to the laws that pertain to driving. I'm just really curious how you can justify wanting them to be held accountable for laws pertaining to driving and not laws pertaining to immigration.
The immigration is a federal issue right now being decided at the Supreme Court. At the state level, what we can control, if somebody has a driver's license, they have to have insurance. And if somebody doesn't have a driver's license and they're driving around without any documentation, there's no insurance and accountability. So at the state level, the least we can do is hold them accountable with the driver's license that they have to have insurance and they have to have some kind of responsibility. And denying the driver's license, we're giving them the means to drive without any kind of impunity.
Right. I understand that part, and that you made that statement earlier. What I'm asking you is to justify how you can expect them to be held to the laws of the state pertaining to driving, but they also have to be citizens of the state, and they can't be citizens of the state if they're not citizens of the country.
That is a different issue, whether they're citizens of the country and residents of this state. If they're in this state and they've established residency, they do have residency in this state, even though they don't have citizenship in this country. There's no citizenship of a state. But as a state, we can at least create a form of accountability.
Thank you very much.
This is Mike Edwards again. Lately, it's been coming to my attention new revised statutes or laws that are passed. Say, this is my one example. There's a handlebar bill that was passed for motorcycles in October of last year. It was signed by the governor. It was put into effect. Went from shoulder height to 6 inches above shoulder height. Lots of motorcyclists who I speak with every day are getting pulled over. The police don't know this. I'm trying to educate the riders to have these statutes with them. We've called the state assembly. We've called Carson City. The way that it's put out is it's not even on their website from October. They say, well, it takes a long time to do this. It takes a long time to do this, but people are still getting pulled over. They're still getting harassed. And ever since I was a little kid, I was always told, well, just because you don't know the law doesn't mean that you're not, responsible for the law. And that's what we're all told when we're growing up. The police officers are paid to know these laws. Police officers are paid to do them, and the answer has always been, well, if you take a copy with you, certified copy of this, I don't understand why that's our responsibility. Now, when people go get a pay for a lawyer to get out of these tickets and everything else, they're still getting written tickets, and if they don't argue this in court, the judge doesn't even fix it. So how can we fix that process? And that goes for anything across the board. This is just my example.
All right, Mr. LeVay, we'll start with you.
So I think what needs to be done is I think there needs to be regular training by police organizations, whether it's Metro, whether it's Tennessee PD, Reno PD, etc. I think because we're a biennial legislature, new laws are passed every 2 years, it's not too hard to actually sit them down after the legislative session and say, listen, these are the laws that have been passed, these are the laws that have been signed by the governor, this is how it's going to pertain to criminal justice, these are all the reforms that we have made. Again, this is happening every 2 years. This isn't like it's happening every week. I don't think it's too much to require police organizations to basically sit down with their officers, have these briefings, have new training every 2 years, and say, hey, listen, this is how it pertains. These are the mistakes that have been made. These are the changes that have been made. This is the change in policy we've now enacted. Again, it's a 2-year thing. It's not too much, and I don't think that would be too excessive to ask for that.
Mr. Garcia?
I rode motorcycles for years and years, and there are many times we get pulled over just because we get pulled over for whatever reason. I think it's would you advise your members to carry a copy of the statute on the person and present it to the officer? As an electrician, I'm required to know when you impose the laws. Does that mean every electrician knows them? No,
30 seconds. Mr. LeVay, I'll have you go first, and Mr. Garcia, you finish up. Mr. LeVay?
So, what we really heard today, the fact of the matter is we need to get back to conservative principles. I think that's really what we're saying. Liberalism has gone wild. It's done nothing but hurt our country. It's done nothing but hurt our state. We've seen 8 years of an Obama presidency. We've seen the liberals run wild. We've been able to see them do what they want to do with our country. And frankly, it's not the same country we had 8 years ago. It's gotten much, much worse. I think there needs to be a return towards more conservative principles and actually understanding the laws and how they function in the real world and making sure that we respect reality and not pie-in-the-sky ideals that do nothing but cost people a bunch of money with no real solution.
Mr. Garcia?
I'd like to thank everybody for their time here. I know that I haven't seen eye to eye with all of you, but it's important for us to have these dialogues and have these conversations and to understand where each of us comes from so that we can meet the middle ground, and the middle ground is what's best to represent and serve the people of Nevada. Thank you very much.
Mayor Garcia and Mayor LeVay, State Assembly District 34. We have our other candidates. The candidates can come up and
Let's go.
it's 1:37, so we're going to have all the candidates for State Assembly District 35. Please come to the candidate table. Having seen none, this will be closed.
I'm the only guy showing up today?
So if we can have the candidates for Assembly State Assembly 35.
Yeah, I know, me too.
All right, you guys, we'll have time to talk to Mr. Jones afterwards. We can have you come take the candidacy.
Take these in.
Sit down, Brent.
All right, I can call all the panel members. Please take your seats.
Captain Truth, take conversation outside.
All right, here's what we've got. This is the last panel interview for 2016. Sponsors, as we stated earlier, everybody who's been a sponsor, all the panel members, I ask you to give yourself a hand. This has been going on for a few weeks. You've done a wonderful job. And remember, all of the candidates who took time out to come here and be interviewed. It takes time out of their day, even though they're running for the job. It's nice to have them come and show their respect to you by sitting here and being asked questions. So again, I'd like to say congratulations to all the candidates, the panel members, and the sponsors. That being said, for Senate Assembly District 35, we only have one candidate here today, although 4 had signed up. Mr. Brent A. Jones, State Assemblyman. I'll allow you to give a 1-minute statement, and then the questions will begin.
Sure. First of all, if this is intended to be like an interrogation, I think it is. That bright light on you, we barely see you guys in the shadows. It's like out of a movie. But I'm the sitting assemblyman, and one of my big things is that, if you're a Democrat or Republican, I think it's okay if you represent what you represent when you get elected. When I say that, Democrats say that they want, more taxes, bigger government. They represent that. So if the people vote for them, then that's okay. Well, my big pet peeve is what we did last time in our last Assembly and Senate in the whole session was a number of Republicans represented that they were going to adhere to the Republican principles of the platform, and then they betrayed the trust of the people. So that to me is unconscionable because you are just being a liar. And I know that people are tired of politicians being liars. I do adhere to our Republican principles. I'm for lower taxations. I did fight against the taxes. I'm for less government. All the things that the Republican platform stands for, I am for them, and I stood firm, and I got high ratings with NPRI, which is the Nevada Policy Research Institute, and other organizations that judge. So basically, if you want a Republican, it's me. I stand to it, but I also respect Democrats, because if they campaign on that and they get elected, then that's what the people want.
First question will come from Mr. Jones.
Good afternoon, Brent, and thank you very much for coming. I'm going to ask you a similar question that I asked Assemblyman Moore, since you're sitting Assemblyman. There was a lot of, especially on the Republican side, there was a lot of people that felt betrayed because of the tax increase. However, I didn't see I didn't agree with the tax increase, obviously, but I didn't see the legislative session as a complete failure. I think you guys did some amazing work when it comes to education. I think educational savings accounts are a great thing, and I think that if it works well in Nevada, then hopefully that trend will continue through the country. But however, we knew this was coming when certain people took that money that they got and they applied it to a religious school. Then now there's a constitutional argument of whether it's constitutional or not. I know you guys tried to fix it with the special session, but the governor said, let the court case figure it out. What's your plans if you get reelected? What's your plans to clear up that language so that we do continue with the educational savings accounts?
Well, first of all, when we're up there, there's an organization called LCB that represents, they're all lawyers, they know the law, they've been working, they know how the courts will probably interpret it. So they're best to handle it. What we do basically is we give an idea of what we want, and they're the ones that draft the language. So for me to tell you how the language we drafted would be kind of idiotic, even though I'm a lawyer. But that being said, I do want to comment on, we need more school choice, because free market principles are the only thing that's been established or proven on any other states. Because we have 50 states, and they're like incubators of progress or incubators of ideas. And the things that really work, class size reductions pushed all the time, and that does not even work. Actually, if you get below 15 students in the class, their scores are worse than if it's between 15 and 25. So in that sweet range, it doesn't matter. Now over 30, it does start going down. But we do want more school choice, charter schools, ESAs. What's unfortunate is that the governor used the ESAs to get a lot of people to switch over and vote for the taxes. But the lieutenant governor's own law firm is the one that brought this lawsuit to stop the ESAs. So it's really, again, it's a betrayal, because you're saying one thing to get what you want, but you really don't mean it. And we cannot continue just to fund a government-owned monopoly, which is the Clark County School District. To give an example where they say we need more money, we allocated hundreds of millions of dollars for class size reduction. They won't even allow an audit. They won't say where the money went. It just falls into a black hole with no accountability. So that's the problem.
All right, next question.
So, last legislature, you proposed a bill to eliminate Common Core. Can you explain for people what's so terrible about Common Core, what the problem is with Common Core, and why we should be opposed to it?
Okay, so I'm going to be kind of bold. If anybody is willing to go to Google and look up Common Core standards, I think you will see that if there was a conspiracy by the elites to dumb down our society, Common Core would be it. The curriculum is so convoluted, it's just parents can't even help their children because they don't understand it. So if the children can't be helped by their parents, they're only beholden by the teachers, and we know how much the teachers are really helping these kids. So first is the curriculum is terrible. Second thing is data mining. There's this page, hundreds of things that they mine, so you're going to be followed by the government from the cradle to the grave. Not only that, privacy issues have gone out the window now because the government gets it, the state gets it, all kinds of entities get to look at your child's information. And do you have a gun in the home? Do your parents fight? Do your parents do drugs? On and on and on are the things that they now ask and go into a database which can be tapped. So the data mining is terrible. Third is, it's a complete crony capitalist thing, because there's only two companies across the country that can test the Common Core test, and they get, I think, $27 every time they initiate a test, and it's just on a computer. So it's not like there's paper or there's anything, just it's self-grade like that. And so those two inside groups, making millions and millions of dollars. So the curriculum is terrible, and I challenge anybody to Google it. By the way, our founding fathers were not really great guys. If you look at Common Core, too, they're bad guys, slave owners, and everything else. 2 is the data mining, which is cradle to the grave now, and then 3 is the crony capitalism with only 2 companies that are allowed to test.
Next question.
Good morning, Assemblyman Jones. My name's Robert Faust. My question for you is, would you support a bill that would send traffic investigation for minor accidents to the insurance companies, put it right on them so the police would have more time to investigate actual serious crimes, and the insurance company would absorb the investigation of their own accidents, their own claims?
You know, that I haven't even thought about that, so I can't give you an honest answer because I'd have to look at the issues. I'm always for more private enterprise doing stuff because when free markets are involved or when competing competition, usually you get a better product. I like to always hold up my iPhone or my Android and say, you know, this wasn't created in Russia or Europe. It was created in the United States because of free market principles. So I think that probably it would be better suited. You're talking obviously minor traffic accidents that don't involve injury. I think probably free market could sort it out better than the police. That being said, I'm not sure all the expenses. Whenever a bill's presented, for instance, I thought it would be a great idea just to add impounds for HOA fees right into the loans, and then there wouldn't be any issues like we had the supermajority liens and all these problems we have with HOAs and people taking properties. But then the banks came back and said, are you kidding me? There's like over 600 different HOAs or something, or 1,000 HOAs in Las Vegas, and it'd be monumental task for them to try to do that, so they were really against it. So until you really look at the issues and ferret it out, I can't give you a direct answer, but I think I'd probably lean that way.
All right, next question.
Glenn Connell, and once again, thank you very much for being the sole candidate to appear, and I can't imagine why your competitors wouldn't want to take the opportunity to come here. So in light of that, let's say you get elected this upcoming cycle, what's the first day on the job look like? What are you going to dive into?
Well, it depends. It depends if what the referendums go through. For instance, I'm really upset about the tax increase. I think it's a really big harm on our businesses as a business owner myself. So I will definitely be working to attack that. Hopefully the people will take care of that. I have what's called a contract with Nevada that I created. There's 10 common sense principles which were surveyed among Republicans, but many of them cross over. So I'm going to push for all those items to be pushed through. And you can go to contractwithnevada.com to see it. But it's the taxes, it's more school choice, as Jim just brought up. It's Common Core, like Rob brought up, get rid of Common Core. The Silver State Exchange, what a boondoggle waste of money that's been. And Obamacare's falling around. I don't know if you heard that United Healthcare, one of the largest health insurers, is pulling out now. It's just terrible. But we wasted literally over $100 million on this thing and gotten nothing out of it. The biggest surveyed item was police cameras. People in this state want cameras on their policemen to protect the honest policemen, but to expose the corrupt policemen. I think that most policemen are honest, so it will help them because there has been instances where people made allegations towards policemen and the cameras have proved otherwise. So that'd be positive. The bathroom issues are on the contract as well, privacy, and also the transgender issue. So I have those 10 items would be my priorities.
Next question.
Good afternoon, Brett Jones. This is Ron Q. My question is, as a Republican, you have voted well the way we wanted to be represented. But this upcoming primary, why is the establishment put at least 3 primaries against you to knock you out of the election?
4, but
it's 4 now. Used to be 3.
It's 4. I have 4 people in my primary, yes. And Paul Anderson, who is the head of the Assembly Caucus, who is the main person to push through the taxes on the behest of Mike Roberson, who runs the Senate, and the governor, Peter Arnott, actually, from our partners. But I'm their number 1 target because I'm the loudest mouth in the room that's willing to fight them. And he's told everybody that they want to take me out. Again, these are the guys that betrayed the trust of the people. They vote against the Republican principles. So I'm willing to stand up, and I've organized a number of other candidates which are going against the, if you use the term rhino, which is Republican name only, candidates as well. So I got a big bullseye, and they're going to take me out, but I'm up for the challenge.
Jason Stockwell, private attorney. What is the biggest issue facing the residents of District 35?
You know, there's state issues and there's local issues. And statewide, obviously, I think the tax and keeping Nevada a business-friendly state. I left California because it's being ruined by liberal policies, literally. Just like, you know, Detroit used to be the most prosperous city in our country in the 50s, and then the liberals got a hold of it. Baltimore, same thing. Used to be very prosperous. So, and I hope I'm not offending any liberals, but if you just look at stats, it's the facts. Free markets and less regulation. So I left California to come to here, and I want to maintain this as a free market state. On a local level, I go to the HOAs and I ask, and one of the big things is in fact, I pushed this through last session, stoplights on El Capitan and Fort Apache on Blue Diamond Highway. Those people come down 65 miles an hour down the hill coming from Pahrump, and there's all kinds of backlog, people trying to get out in accidents that happen there. So I actually, on the transportation committee, I got 2 new stoplights to go on at the request of most of the Mountains Edge community, and those are going to be going in. So traffic is the biggest thing on a local, all the issues with the roads, the accordion effect and stuff. So although we only control the state highways, because Blue Diamond is considered a state highway, the county controls the interior roads. I definitely worked to get that specific item handled.
Next question.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for coming. Mike Edwards, United States Marine disabled vet from Desert Storm, and I'm the president of the Banditos Motorcycle Club here in Las Vegas. Speaking of transportation, it's a question I haven't asked anyone else yet, but I would like to ask you. When speed's not a factor, the leading cause of motorcycle collisions, vehicle deaths, and maimings, especially here in the valley, is a left turn in front of a motorcycle. Mathematical laws of perspective apply. Most humans are mistaken when trying to properly judge distance and rate approach of a motorcycle. It's one headlight versus 2, so it's just been proven. Recently, Nevada has begun to install the left turn yield on flashing arrow at major intersections, and motorcycle accidents are increasing. What are the state's plans, or what would be your education program or PSAs urging drivers? And my thought on it would just be, stop trying to beat the bike. Save a few seconds, save a life. I'd just like your thoughts.
Well, first of all, I like studies. I'll give you an example. In the rural roads out here, we brought an action to increase the speed limit, I think, to 80 instead of 65 or 75. And statistics show that a higher speed limit actually results in lower fatalities. But the government guys don't want to do that, just like, I can't drive 55. Sammy Hagar doesn't like it either, right? But I think it all gets down to stats. I like to look at statistics on what's really proven. So these are new. They only about a year and a half, where you have the flashing yellow. So I think that we definitely need to see what happens in the next year or 2 and look and see if there's adverse effects, then we should address it. Also, though, the motorcycle community, it could be put on the test to make sure that because of this, that they definitely need to pay attention when they're getting their license. And another question could be put on the DMV test for regular drivers to say, should you walk? How does it work with a motorcycle or whatever? To make them consciously think about it, because education is always the best.
Could I have a follow-up to that real quick? As a biker myself, and I see lots of people out there that complain, that ride, that do all this, and they ride, excuse my friends, like assholes. They don't pay attention, and a lot of them don't have driver's license. I think we should have stiffer penalties for non-motorcycle licenses. And I suggest, I've taken the test at DMV, it's nothing. I would suggest moving forward a comprehensive class like they have at Harley, or if they have the community college. You go in, you present that, you get that, you might get a drop on your insurance, something like that. I want, that way the motorcycle riders are educated. You can walk in to a motorcycle dealership and buy a motorcycle. They don't ask you for a motorcycle license. I can go buy a Hayabusa that goes 200 miles an hour and I've never ridden before. So I was wondering what you think, like on a state level, something like that, you could implement to get a license. And also the moped issue, you don't have to have a license to drive a moped either, which is also a big problem in this town.
Well, as a proponent for less government, I don't like a lot of additional regulations. However, I do like education. I think that education is the most important thing. I used to be opposed to seatbelts when they first came out, but now I appreciate it because I feel like I'm naked if I'm not wearing my seatbelt. And I know that statistically, people live a lot better in accidents if they're in seatbelt on. So I think it always gets down to education, but just like motorcyclists, that don't want to wear their helmets, that's a choice they get to make. Statistically, if you're wearing a helmet, you have a lot less chance of being injured. But if somebody doesn't want to wear their helmet, should they have the right to be able to make that choice? So I'm more leaning towards freedom of choice by the individual. I think I'm a better decider of my fate than the government is. Because government's force, and it's also no responsibility, because the people in government, they're never accountable for anything. Where individuals are accountable for their actions. So I kind of lean towards education, but keeping the individual empowered and making his own decisions.
Next question.
Good afternoon, Mr. Assemblyman Jones. Thanks for your service. Good to see you. Yeah, somewhere. With the regarding civil forfeiture here in the state, there's you could be driving down the street with a large sum of cash, get pulled over, all of a sudden it's ill-gotten money confiscated, you don't get it back, or you got to fight to get it back. What's your how can you help rectify that?
Well, this is a follow-up to the last one. Of course, I do not like large government enforced because there's no accountability. We saw the videos in judiciary about the road policeman up north who was pulling people over constantly, just taking whatever cash they had. And then most people don't have the power to fight back. I think it's ridiculous. We need to absolutely limit that and make it more penalties on anybody that uses that in the police force. But I'm not for the government being able to take any of our private property without due process. That's a reverse situation. They take it and then ask questions as opposed to going through due process, then taking it. So I'm against it.
Hi, Brett. I'm Scott LaFata, and I'm with Conservatives for Energy Freedom. My question revolves around AB 71, and thank you for standing up against that.
What was it?
That's the gross receipts tax, AB 71. My question revolves around, I'm starting to hear rumors, like the gate was at $3 million, and they said, okay, $3 million and under is to fund a small business, so we're not going to go after that. What's your expectation this year? Do you think, if reelected, you're going to see that the governor and his folks are going to try to lower the gates on that to 1.5 million or 2 million in revenue?
Or 500,000? Why not just eliminate it? Because everybody's going to pay their fair share. No, absolutely. That's the problem with it. That is absolutely the nose of the camel's under the tent, and it's just going to continue to go down. So you better believe that every Democrat that's there would prefer it to be zero. So now that it's in place, we've got to really push, if we care about it, to get it eliminated. Here's an example of why it's going to be. They're going to say, well, the revenues aren't coming in that we expected, so therefore we need to lower the threshold, and we need more money. And that's an easy thing. An example would be, there's the tax was actually a basket of taxes. There was cigarettes went up. There was the modified business tax, which is the tax on employers pay on a percentage on every dollar that they pay their employees. There was the gross receipts or commerce tax, it's called, and then the other one was the tax went up to $500 on corporations. It used to be $100, and we used to be what's called a resident agent state. We're outside because we have good corporation laws so people can't pierce the corporate veil. Outside companies that they do business in other multi-states would file in Nevada, and this would be their incorporation state. Now that whole industry's gone away. So the governor put projections. Well, if we have, I can't remember exactly, say 50,000 corporations, and at $500 it's going to be this much. It's going to grow 7%. Well, no, there's not going to be those corporations. I know personally a gentleman who was in court, and they're canceling, like thousands and thousands of people are canceling every month when the thing comes around because they're going to Wyoming, they're going to Florida, they're going to Texas. So Ronald Reagan proved that if you lower the taxes all the way around, you create more tax, you don't increase taxes. Because the more commerce, the more change, the more tax-friendly environment, the more business is done. So
I concur with your answer. Thank you.
Next question.
My name's Tip Attar. I'm a U.S. Army veteran and a political activist. So I want to tell you, you failed to bribe me because I'm a vodka man. So just saying.
Your vodka?
Yeah, you didn't bribe me.
Pour the real water in your vodka and see how it makes it so smooth. Now your mind is really well.
So I find your relationship interesting. I'm going to ask you the same exact question I asked your son a few weeks ago. So basically, looking at the political atmosphere going now, how do I know you're not another Bush or a Clinton? How do I know you're trying to create a dynasty within Nevada? You're just not the next, pick any dynasty you want. But how are you going to prove me wrong on that? If we're not that legit.
Well, First of all, I don't know about a dynasty. I'm proud of my son for being willing to step up. He's a businessman as I am. I think I've trained him well, so I'm very proud of him. I don't know about a dynasty. We're all at a very low level of the state, to be honest with you, at this point. Now, if I was running for governor or president, you could maybe ask that. But if we vote the right way and we keep our integrity, where's the negative? I think the problem is that you're using crony inside deals to cover stuff up like the Clintons do. I mean, I hope I don't offend anybody, but with a record. And like the Bushes do, they use the inside deals. But if you're representing the people for what they want, is it that bad if my son is honest and has integrity and represents what he represents and he gets elected? I don't see it as a problem.
Thank you.
Next question.
Assemblyman Jones, my name is Patrick Casal, and I am an insurance broker. And I was very instrumental in getting rid of Xerox, but you constantly say we need to get rid of the Silver State Exchange. It doesn't cost us any more money now that it's up and running. If we get rid of it now, it'll cost the taxpayers 2% more premium dollars for each policy that's written, because the government really wants to control the exchanges. Then we also don't have the opportunity to fix the problems that are going to occur. So you keep saying get rid of the exchange. It doesn't cost us any more money. I agree. I hate Obamacare, no question. The real problem facing Nevadans is not Obamacare, although a part of it will be, is the Medicaid expansion. Right now, Medicaid exceeds 100% of the original target. When we start to pay our share, it's going to double our budget. How do you see that as being fixed, and how do we accomplish a successful remedy?
Well, it's just like if you want to keep spending on a credit card, someday it's going to come due. And first of all, I would disagree respectfully that it doesn't cost us any more money, because in the briefings that I had they may have changed in the last year, but they're doing all kinds of education for the Silver State Exchange. It costs millions of dollars they're spending to try to educate people to use the Silver State Exchange. They do not only billboard, TV and internet, they hold seminars where they'll spend thousands, $10,000, $20,000, and they'll enroll 10 people. So it ended up being like, the amount of money we spent was like $2,500 per new enrollee. So if you think that's a bargain, I'm sorry. Free market principles are way, way better.
The funding
Not a
mechanism is
debate.
already in place.
Not a debate.
Oh, no, it's
Yeah.
not. I just want to let you know.
Also, I'd like to say, if you don't believe that free market principles are more superior, do you think a private company would be running the DMV like the DMVs run right now? No. So why do we think that more government's going to be the solution?
All right. Thank you. Last question.
All right, Brett. I'd like to say thanks for voting against the tax. But no matter how we slice it, the government has to have a certain amount of money to operate. And what seems to happen is that every year the budgets get greater, and they're based on pie-in-the-sky actions. Would you be in favor of auditing every department of the Nevada state government to find out exactly where all the money went?
Absolutely, accountability. In fact, Assemblyman Moore was a proponent of trying to get accountability, and we were shot down by the establishment constantly. They want to keep on using platitudes and keep telling people we're going to do all these great things, but they don't want anybody to look under the hood, ever. I use the example, too, of schools. We spent hundreds of millions, I think it's $300 or $400 million for class size reduction. I put that in parentheses. And the legislature keeps asking for an audit, and the school district just basically keeps kicking the cans and won't allow it. Auditing and exposing government waste is the biggest thing, I think, that could immediately cut 10, 15, 20% off the budgets immediately. So absolutely. Shed the light, accountability, 100%. 1,000%.
Can I have a quick follow-up?
Well, very quick.
Okay.
30-second reply.
Okay. The auditing process. You guys are in charge of the money. Why don't you just cut off their money?
30 seconds to reply.
Because people like me are not in control. The establishment, Brian banks are under control. If it was me, absolutely there would be. I'll just give a quick little thing, a little anecdote to this. So I was working with Michelle Fiore, and her and I were initially on the tax. She was going to be the chair, I was going to be the vice chair of taxation. And we made it very clear that we did not stand for any taxes. The establishment then got Chris Edwards to start wearing a wiretap. And for 3 weeks, even during session, he was wearing a wiretap and kept trying to entrap me to try to get the police were doing this. And what happened was they kicked me and Michelle both off taxation. They moved Michelle into a small little office. Every other returning assembly person got a nice big office. In fact, some of the inside guys have big offices. Michelle and I both had small offices. John had small offices as well. And it just goes to show that these people do not respect or care about what the people state, and they'll say whatever they want to get elected, that they have no integrity. So if we want to bring integrity back, that's why we signed the tax pledge. That's why I created the contract in Nevada. Now, if you disagree with those issues, it's totally fine. But I'm telling you what I stand for, so I will do what I stand for.
Thank you. Another question.
Good afternoon,
Karen,
Mr. Dillman.
you must be getting serious because you're moving around.
I want to make sure you can see me. Thank you for joining us here today. My name is Karen Stillman. I'm the Auxiliary Director with Veterans in Politics. And after having served the people now for the state of Nevada, I think we're facing the same issues that have always faced humanity. And I think we're asking the same questions that have always been asked. And, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Do you think that the government of our country and our state are being operated in accordance with original intent? And if not, how do you expect to fight the monumental mountain of crap that faces you every day?
Okay, can somebody cue the patriotic music as I answer this question? Absolutely not. We are not adhering to the constitutional principles that made this country the greatest country on the planet, because they knew. Our founding fathers knew about Europe and what happens with bloated government, and that's why they created limited government. Government is the problem. It's not the solution. Everywhere we've gone in this country or in this world where we perceive that more government is the solution, it's resulted in ruin and atrocities against humanity. Look at just 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, Danny Glover and Sean Penn were down saying how awesome Venezuela was because Hugo Chavez took over all the oil fields and was making this socialist paradise. You can't even get food or toilet paper now there. Look at Cuba, how they live, the workers' paradise. Look at every single country that's done this. Bigger government's not the solution. Individuals making their own decisions is the best solution. Freedom and independence and liberty and limited government creates the most prosperity. We created the best country on the planet, the most free, the most, when I say integrity, honestly, what we've done in every single war we've been involved in, except the Civil War, because that was ourselves. But, we don't go in and occupy and take the spoils. We're the good guys, and that is because of our founding principles. Why do we go the other way, what the bad guys do? Say one thing, do the opposite. Force versus freedom. It doesn't work. It absolutely just does not work. Just look at the stats. I gave you even locally. Look at Detroit, the most prosperous country in the world in the 50s. Ruined, bankrupt now. It's what is it called? A war zone. Baltimore, another example, ruined. California, it's getting ruined.
We stop you there. I need to cut you off. And one other person, we want to ask one other question. We're running a little late, so I'll have you go ahead and ask one quick question. And answer as quickly as possible. Yes.
Thank you. Stephen, Captain Truth Dempsey, co-founder of We Are Change 9/11 Truth. There's been a lot of talk about what's wrong. Many of the people in our group feel it's the media misinformation scam perpetrated upon the American people. We just had an excellent example in the last question about money. We don't have money in this country. We have notes because we can't follow the Constitution, and evidently we can't figure it out. I'll be giving you some information from a lady named Ellen Brown. She has a plan that was perfected by Japan.
Let me stop you there.
Okay,
you can ask the question.
Okay, that's what I'd like to know. Your understanding of whether or not they follow the Constitution regarding money.
Okay, so first of all, we have fiat currency, and it's a long, long issue on fiat currency and what's going on. And obviously, we're just creating money out of nothing. If people understood that, maybe not wouldn't have worked. But I want to say about the media, that's one of the good things is now that we have all these channels, we have the internet, we have Alex Jones, who puts a lot of this out, we have Newsmax TV. Newsmax is awesome if you ever want to watch it. It's phenomenal. They're exposing these things. So we have the Fox Business. So we are exposing this stuff. It's just more people need to get away from it. And liberal media is dying. They're going out of business and everything else. So we are moving in the right direction.
All right, that's, when I asked you to give a 30-second statement, I know you're the only candidate here. Give us a final statement for you, 30 seconds, please.
Okay, if you want more betrayal after trust, eliminate those establishment inside crony boondoggle guys. If you want truth, I'm willing to stand. My record shows that I will stand by the Republican principles. If you want a Democrat, then that's fine too. You know, elect the Democrat. If the people want that, then that's fair because we are a representative democracy. But if you do want constitutional principles, you do want limited government, you want lower taxes, you want Nevada to be a business-free or business-friendly environment, I'm the guy that would represent those ideals. But thank you very much.
Again, thank you everybody for coming here today. Again, thank the sponsors. This is our last interview.
All right, panel members, we're going to take a photo and a moderator, so don't go away. Everybody else. Oh, I need one person to take the picture. So.
I was making sure. Your Honor. Hey, Judge, I'm going to court tomorrow. Message.
Go ahead. No guns are allowed except one microphone.
VIP panel members to the front of the room for a photograph, please. Rob Lauer, Steve Sanson, Ron Q, Mike Edwards, Ron Q, Fred Conquest, Steve Sampson.
All right, I'm getting a photographer.
Okay.
You guys feel like you're being interrogated? You got the lights on you?
All right, Jeff, get over here.
You guys want me to take it before Steve gets in?
Yeah.
Do it now. Okay, everybody look at me. Give me a big smile. Smile again. I'll do it again.
You got everybody?
One more. Yep, we're all on there. Got it. Okay. One of those.
Wow. Yeah, we didn't deliver it.
You're like it on that side.
How hot was that?
I was there sitting one time, you know.
All right, Judge. We got roll.
Not yet.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
We're going to vote on that table over there. We got to get out of Karen's way.
I don't want only Jackson in here. Nobody's seen it for a long time.
If you're not a panel member, you have to exit the room.
Hey, honey, we got to go.
Tim Sarah.
help if we do this? That would be great. I'd like to get with you about that.
I don't need to call the police. I am the police.
It wasn't a violent threat.
No, he said idle.
Oh.
It's not idle.
You think I'll call the police? Really?
I thought that was Ron's.
What's so bad at you? Every time we do this, you're always so slowing us down.
Let's coffee. Although I bet you can get some publicity if you start banning.
Oh, we have banned people already. Yeah. We picked out, what's his name? The new treasurer? Was it Schwartz?
Schwartz?
What's his name? Dan Schwartz. Before he became a treasurer.